Hello, everyone. Now, I got a lot of questions from people about the November notes from Future Self, that recording. I didn't end up putting out. Like, the video quality was so bad that I didn't post it. So, this time, what I'm doing is I'm gonna do my audio like regular. And if the video quality of today is not good, then I'm just going to post the audio recording instead. So everyone will still have access to it. And hi, happy New Year's Eve. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And I just wanted to do something extra for New Year. And I feel like since we're already doing the notes from Future Self, that we kind of have to do one for a year out. Like, we kind of need to do a time capsule for the end of the year. And so I thought that's what we would do today. We'll do one for January as well, but I thought it would be fun to do one for a year out. The only thing about doing one for the end of the year is you need to remember it exists. And I don't know for sure. This is the other thing I'm going to let you all know about. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be doing the notes from Future Self workshops all the way through 2024. I might end up changing them to something else or want to freshen things up. So just keep that in mind. It's like after doing them for a while, then it's kind of like, okay, we've done it. We know how to do this. So I might need to switch gears at some point. So I think I'll put my notes in a calendar entry for December 31st, 2024. Great idea. Yes. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. So let's go ahead and do what we did last time. If this is your first time doing this workshop, don't worry about it, but get your note from last month. And we're going to open them now and see what happened. You're just going to check in what came to pass, what didn't. Are you having an emotional response to it? Did you miss the mark? You're just going to go through and screen your note. I don't even know what I wrote on mine. So now mine is interesting. It all feels like stuff that's still really active. It just hasn't popped yet because I was really specific in this one. And so the specificity is there, but it's still brewing. I just want to give you another moment in case you're digesting. So just make a mental note. There's not anything major to do here other than keep in mind, do you want to keep it as specific as you've kept it? Do you want to do fewer statements? Do you want to go more general? Like, just make a mental note of what you have learned from this. And then we're going to go ahead and start with the January note first. So the one that you'll open at the end of January, and then we will do a little meditation for the 2024. All of 2024, the big one that you'll open at the end of the year. So we're going to do the same thing as last time. Going into a little meditation for this, you are going to imagine, just close your eyes, imagine the version of you that existed on November 30th. And what would you like to tell that version of yourself on November 30th? And you can apply this to whatever date makes sense for you. And then you're going to thank your past self, the version of you from November, and you are going to now imagine the version of you that's a month out. So the version of you that exists on January 31st of 2024, that you is standing in front of you. And remember, just relax, be loose. The stakes are so low for this. Just, you're going to invite, you're going to ask your future self, what do I need to know? If you don't get anything, don't worry about it. Just assume you're still receiving information, even if you aren't interpreting it verbally. If you do have something come up, write it down. This one was quite fast for me, so I'll just fill you in on, oh, hold on. I'll just fill you in on what I'm noticing. But again, you can thank your future self. Thank you. This version of you isn't going anywhere, so you can summon this you anytime you need. I'm just noticing because I did get 3 pieces of information which this is the first time that I've received information that clearly, but it's somewhat abstract. So that's new. I'm going to try it out. We're going to see how it goes. Let this all be experimental. Remember, don't treat this like a manifestation exercise. All you're doing is strengthening the communication between your future self and you now. That's why we do the exercise in the beginning where you just give your past self a piece of advice, because the, time all exists at the same present moment. And so you just want to strengthen the lines of communication. That's all we're doing here. And so you don't need to worry about getting it right. You might notice that the quality of communication improves, and that's actually the goal. That would be the best possible situation. I'm gonna give you a recommendation for this month that kind of coincides with what I'm noticing. Don't worry about thinking about this and mulling it over and chewing on the statements. I know that we normally do that during these workshops. What I want to invite you to do is be loose with it and write the things down, even if they don't make sense. If you get one word, if you get something that seems silly, if you get one phrase, write it down. It might not make sense until you get to the end of January, and then it'll make sense. If you are struggling or if you have any questions, if you want to leave a comment, you're more than welcome to. If I don't hear from anyone, I'm going to assume everyone's fine. But if you do have a question, drop it. Okay, I'm assuming we're all good. All right. We're going to do something a bit different for the next one. Hold on. I'm considering something. Okay, we're going to do two different exercises briefly. So the first one, don't worry about making it a note. Like you're not going to fold it up. You're not going to open it on December 31st of 2024. We're going to do that one last. This one, we're gonna do a different exercise. I think the original person who created this exercise was Dolores Cannon. I'm not really familiar with her work, but eh, she has a visualization that I'm gonna put here because I feel like it's a fun time to do it. And so I just wanted to let you know where I think this came from. I didn't come up with this. So, what you're going to do here, we're going to talk to the version of us that's 6 months out, and then we're going to talk to the version of the us that's a year out. And this information you can take with you through the year. So you want to have access to this at all times. It's not it's not the time capsule style where you're writing something down from year's end and opening it at the end. So go ahead, close your eyes. We're just going to do a brief meditation for this and have some paper out for yourself where you can make a note. And again, you want to have access to this. So just make sure it's somewhere that you can keep. Okay. So I want you to imagine that you are standing in a room with two doors. There's one on the left and one on the right. The door on the left is the version of you that is 6 months out, and the door on the right is the version of you that's a year out. And the doors might look the same, they might look different, it doesn't really matter. You're going to imagine yourself walking through the door on the left and meeting the version of you that's 6 months out. And you're going to ask this version of you what wisdom, what information this version has for you to take with you through the year. And then whenever you have it, write it down. Again, don't judge it as best as you can. Like, just let the information be what it be's. Don't worry about it. Write it down. Be loose, be relaxed about this. The stakes are low. And then you are going to walk out of the room. You're going to thank the version of you 6 months out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And you are going to exit the room. And you're going to walk into the other door. And this is the version of you that's a year out. And you might want to take note of, how does this version of you look? How do you feel? How are you doing? You can write that down if you feel inspired. Just take a note of how you look, how you feel. And you are going to ask this version of you for a piece of wisdom to carry with you throughout 2024. Mm. So jot down the wisdom. And when you feel complete with that, you can go ahead and set that aside. I'll give you another minute here. Just to wrap up, remember you can always do this again. Um, okay, let me say something about that for a moment. Ignore me if you're still writing and doing your thing. I don't want to forget to mention this. I wouldn't do this exercise over and over and over and over and over. But what I'm talking about is, if during this session you don't have enough time, you can go back into it again. The reason why I wouldn't go and do the same exercise over and over, like, I wouldn't go into this meditation every day, for example, because you're going to continually shift and get different information, and it just waters everything down. And so just do it once and be done with it, and then let that be it. And then, we continually do this each month and just go a month out, but I wouldn't try to go back to this version of you that you have in your mind a year out. Don't try to replicate this. Just let it be the one time and let it be done. So you're going to stay with this version of you. It's a year out. And now we're moving into the note. Okay, so the note that you're going to fold up and you're going to read at the end of the year. So this version of you is giving you, I mean, you can make this as long as you want, but just have this version of you. You're going to ask this you, what should I put on this note? What should I keep for myself at the end of the year? What should I know about the end of the year? What should I know about 2024? And you might notice that there's way less information, or this is more concise than usual. And that's kind of to be expected just because a year is a long time. So don't worry if you get one statement or one word. I'm going to give you another minute here. If you need support with anything, if you need help, put it in the chat. And you can go ahead, look at the version of you that's a year out. You're going to say thank you. Thank you so much. And you're going to go back into the room, or you're going to leave the room, rather. And then you're just going to bring your attention back to your physical body, wiggle your fingers and toes, come back to present time. And something that you also might want to make a note of now on the second note that we did, the advice for you, or the wisdom from 6 months out and a year out. Did you notice anything different between 6 months out and a year out? Like, the big one for me, the way that I was dressed was completely different. Like, my style was completely different, which was interesting to see. The energy was very different. Take a note of that. So what changed between 6 months and a year? Just if there were any energetic differences, if there were any physical changes, physical differences, um, any observations that you have that were different between those two versions of you, make a note. And then I would also keep this, like the note that is just advice for you, leave that in a place where you can see it. I wouldn't leave it tucked away in a notebook somewhere. Like, write it somewhere that you're going to keep it out all the time so you can recall these versions of you. Because remember, they know stuff you don't know. They have info that you don't know. So if you're constantly just keeping this in mind, what you were guided to or what you're reminded of, it's going to make a big difference. All right, friends. That is all on my end. That's all I have for you today. And don't forget, wrap up the 1 year note, set a reminder, put that in a place where you'll remember so that you can open it at the end of the year. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be doing these by the end of 2024. They may have changed by the end of 2024. So set a reminder in case I'm not doing these and we move on to something else. Any questions for me? Anything at all? And if you're all good, leave a thumbs up for me so I can tell. Good. And then I'll have us wrap up with a golden sun. If you're still typing or leaving a thumbs up, feel free. But that'll be the last thing that we do. Any advice to strengthen the conversation with our future selves? Oh, you know what? I think I mentioned this. I mentioned this during the last session that I didn't upload. So I describe it as like the clopen. So you are the closing manager and you're the opening manager. Present time you is the closing manager. Okay, so like you're shutting everything down, you know what's going on with the shop, you're aware of everything. I'm not super visual, which is why I love Astral Playground so much. So I didn't get much between my 6-month and 1 year selves. That's okay. That's totally okay. So right now you're the closing manager. Your future self is the opening manager. Okay, so everything that you do now, your future self is going to have to deal with. And when you can keep this in mind, when it's like, okay, I'm setting up my future self for success, I'm setting myself up for success in this moment, you can let your future self know things, which sounds ridiculous and redundant, but literally, like the version of you that has to wake up tomorrow and deal with all of the stuff that you did today, let that version of you know what's going on. Like remind that version of you from right now. When you were the opening manager this morning, you could literally, like, when you're laying in bed at night, tell the version of you that woke up that morning, the version of you from early in the day, let that version of you know something. Give it a piece of advice. Give it some information. Let it know what's upcoming during the day. And try to keep it good. You know what I mean? Like don't unpack the negative aspects of your day, but just like advice, guidance, wisdom, support, encouragement. Just communicate more. So you don't necessarily need to go into any type of visualization or meditation. It's more of intending to communicate with that timeline, that version of you. So the more you pass down information, the more you relay it to your past self, and the more that you toss information forward to your future self, the stronger the communication will get. So that is just like a daily thing that you could do. All right, friends. We're going to wrap up with the golden sun. So you're going to imagine a golden sun above your head. Call your life force energy back from anywhere you've left it. Call it back from the version of you that's a year out. Call it back from all the months of 2024. Call it back from your goals and your dreams and your desires. And you are going to reset at present time at permission to integrate. Crack it open like an egg, let it pour in through the crown, let it wash all the way down your body. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been fun chatting with you all. Happy New Year. I hope you have a beautiful 2024. I will see you next year. Yes. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.